Y'all, I have been avoiding this video. I did not want to do this. Where's my sight line? Here? Right there. Here. Here I look like I'm looking into the camera. Okay. I honestly have been avoiding doing this video for months at this point because I don't want to. I honestly don't want to get on camera and cry for however many minutes again. Like this, the thought of it did not excite me. However, I knew that I was going to have to come on here and talk, not only for, you know, the people who my previous video helped, but for myself and my journey and my healing and my grieving and so here I am making this video again. Excuse the noise outside if y'all hear it. I'm sorry, y'all. So for anyone who hasn't seen the first video, hello, my name is Desiree. In July of 2019, my dad passed away, and it was what I would call sudden. He was sick for a few months, and then, you know, it just felt like his health started to deteriorate rapidly. And, you know, I made a video about it and just my journey and just talking about how I felt, you know, prior to his passing and then after. And if you want, check out the video. You know, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to come on here and I was just going to talk and I was going to get everything out. Oh, I have some tissue, okay? I got some toilet paper because last time I was using a shirt to wipe my tears. But yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that I updated people because, you know, grieving is a journey. Mourning is a journey. And, you know, just when you think it's over, it's not. And it's been over a year. I wanted to do a 1 year update, but that was just too much for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a year and a half. And like, we're a little bit past that mark, but, I still feel like the story is, you know, my story is still relevant even at this time, even though I wanted to tell it sooner. So, you know, the thing is, like, I wish that people could explain grief sooner. You know, like, you know how like in school you learn different ways to deal with life, but no one tells you like what to expect when you lose someone who is close to you. And honestly, like, the only reason I knew how to get to this point that I'm at is because I studied psychology in college. Like, I can't imagine being someone who doesn't have necessarily the tools that I do and trying to go through this. Death feels final. Death feels like it's the end. Like, yes, I am a Christian woman and I believe in life after death. Like, I feel like, you know, my Father's in heaven, but to me, in my human experience here on earth, I feel the absence of his presence. I feel like he is gone. And even though I feel his spirit with me, I know that he is gone. And that has been the hardest part for me because, oh, here come the tears. Because, like, you know, I did not anticipate being in this season of my life without my dad. I really thought we had more time. I thought that my dad would at least be here to walk me down the aisle. I thought my dad would at least be here to, you know, see my children, because I was like super excited to see my dad as a grandparent. He never really had the ability to be a full-on grandparent, and I knew my dad was going to kill it. Like, growing up, y'all, my dad scared like all my friends, right? Like, scared all my friends and my cousins, right? So nobody really wanted to mess with him. But the older he got, the more I saw him, with kids. And I was like, who is this man? Because, but that's what everybody says. Like, parents turn into someone else when it's not their children. So it's me. Like, they're really hard on their own children, but their grandchildren, they just spoil and they just do everything for. And I really wanted to see that. I really wanted to have those memories, or at least have my children meet him and experience him. And yes, I know I can tell the story of my father, but it's very different when you get to experience that, like, firsthand. Like, they will know very much about my father and, like, just the amazing man that I knew him to be. But it's hard knowing that I won't get to have those memories with him, or I won't be able to call him. And just little things, like when something happens to my car, I don't have my dad. And there's a part of grief where people tend to forget that you're grieving, especially if they've never lost anyone close to them. So they don't know the pain that you walk around with every day. They don't know what that feels like. So there will be people who are either super nervous to talk to me about my dad and my experience, or there's people who just don't ask at all. And it's hard for me because I need to talk about it. I need to release. I need to be able to speak as if sometimes my dad is even still here. And I know he's not, but like, just talking about him helps me a lot. And not having that outlet has been very difficult. So I decided to join a grief group. So it's about me, and I don't even know how many people are there. My brain is like, it feels like there's about 8 to 10 of us. Few people decided to leave for personal reasons. But it's been very helpful. But it's bi-weekly, and they usually give us an exercise. It's an hour and a half bi-weekly. And what's great is it's funded by the state. I'm not sure if I'm correct with that, but I think so. It's funded by the state, and you pay as you can, which is super helpful for me in this time, because like the pandemic has really affected just my world all around. But I signed up for this before the pandemic hit, but they weren't able to assemble the class or the group before the pandemic hit. And then they were like, okay, we'll start up in a few months, and we'll start up, and it never started up. So they started in August, and I wasn't able to join until October because I was in acting classes. But ever since I've joined, it's been super helpful, and it's really like changed my experience with grief, and it's really given me tools to use, in understanding that I'm not alone. That is the hardest part. It's the feeling alone. It's feeling like nobody understands how you feel. It's the feeling like, just no one gets it. You feel like you're out in this world, and the world is still moving around you, and you are like dragging yourself, because sometimes that's all you can do. All you can do is literally pull yourself through life sometimes. And I felt like that for a while. Sometimes I still feel like that. Sometimes I don't know what's happening. Some days I'm just not good, and then other days I feel better. Like, I don't know. Grief is such a roller coaster, and that's the frustrating part. Like, one day you're good, and then the next day something hits you, like a car, a truck hits you. It's just really, really hard. I don't know if I told this story because I should have watched the video before this, but I'll tell it again if I didn't tell it before. There was one day I went to Target, and I was standing in line. I was minding my business, and this is shortly after I had returned to LA after my dad passed, and this girl was on the phone behind me, and I'm waiting in line, and she's like, yeah, and having a casual conversation, and she goes, okay, Dad, well, I'm going to go now, but I'll talk to you later. And she's like, okay, you know, Dad, I love you. All right, bye. And when she said, I love you, it hit me. Like, I will never be able to utter those words to my dad as he is on the phone with me, or as he's physically like in front of me. That is crazy to me. Like, I lost it. Like, I literally had to gather myself in that line because I was like about to be in thug tears. And it's those moments that get you. It's those moments that make you feel like, what am I doing? So, you know, my grief group has been super helpful. Just meeting people and talking to them. You know, it's hard though. It's really hard. It's digging into your feelings when you don't want to. It's talking about, you know, an open wound, you know, that for some never heals. You know, I realize that I'm more blessed. Not more blessed, that's not the way to say it, but I'm more fortunate to have had the time that I did with my dad versus some people who lost their family member at an early age. You know, one girl, she lost her dad and he was in his 60s. You know, my dad lived to be, you know, 82. So, you know, while I only had him in my life for 31 years, the thing, 31? Yeah, because I turned 32. Okay, yeah, 31 years. The thing is, like, my dad lived a full life. So it's not like his life was cut short. His time with me was cut short according to my timetable, but his life was full. But it was hard, y'all. It was hard. It changed a lot of the relationships that I had with people, losing my dad. Because the people I expected to be there weren't, and the people who I didn't expect to be there were. It changed the dynamic of my family in some senses, you know, but I also had to honor and acknowledge my father had, sorry, my brain's not working, but my father had a total of 4 girls and 1 boy. So there's 5 of his biological children. And he had a different relationship with each of us. And between me and my sister, we were probably like the closest to my dad because my dad was in the house raising us. My brother, Johnny, you know, would be the next, you know, and he had a personal relationship with my dad. But I have 2 older sisters who didn't have a relationship with my dad at all. And that was really hard. You know, he had them at a very young age. And I don't know if they know, but, you know, my dad always made sure we knew about them. But what I had to acknowledge is that that was a period of his life that they experienced a man that I never knew, right? So, like, for them, it was very different getting a phone call that he passed from me. You know, like, this is a person that they can't necessarily say they have this huge connection with that passed away, but is their biological father. You know, like, that's crazy. And I had to really understand their position during this. Like, the man that I knew was like my superhero, but the man that they knew, they didn't really get time with. They didn't have those same experiences. So just dealing with other people, you know, and how they feel. I also have my brother, Adrian, and he had his own relationship with my father. And, you know, my dad was his stepfather. So they had a different dynamic. And just dealing with other people's emotions and their feelings around the loved one that you lost, that is hard, because sometimes things come out that you didn't know. Sometimes, you know, people act ugly and you know, and sometimes losing someone can uproot feelings that you didn't know you had. So you have ill feelings towards this person and they pass, and that can uproot some things in you. So there's a lot of understanding that I had to have around this, and it was not easy. So yeah, here we are a year later, a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And I can honestly say, like, am I better? Yes. Am I over it? No. Will I ever be? I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't know if I'll ever be over this. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be okay. I just learned to live with the loss. I've learned to navigate life with a hole in my heart. And it's not to like make everybody sad. Like, my goal is never to make people sad. Like, I don't want anybody to watch this and be like, dang, shorty, get it together. But like, nah, I'm real. Because there's so many people who will not tell this side. They just make it sound like, okay, you know, I lost them, but their memory lives forever and everything's okay. And it's not. It's not okay. It's not okay. And there's a part of me that feels cheated. There's a part of me that feels like I was robbed. But there's a part of me that's super grateful because I have so many great memories with my dad. You know, that was my boy. Like, we was actually like friends, you know? Like, he was my parent, but he was my friend also. And you know, it's just burn. I'm happy, you know, like the last year of his life. I haven't told many people this, but the last year of my dad's life, I had this feeling that he wasn't going to be here much longer. And you know, like sometimes you have those feelings, like sometimes I'll think the worst of something. So like I try to chalk it to that. I was like, no, Desiree, like you're just being negative, and like your dad is going to live to be well in his 90s, maybe even 100, because you know the Rutledges live long. We got longevity. But I did have that feeling. I had the feeling that he was going to pass, and I didn't know when. I just knew like I had to really like take advantage of the time that I had, which is the reason why I didn't move to LA sooner, because you know, I just felt like I needed to be there to help my family, but I also felt like I needed more time with my dad. Especially since I'm sure most people, no, not most people, but people from Florence or that are close enough to me know, like my parents lost their house. So, you know, right before I moved, I decided to like spend more time with my dad. So I would like sit in the room with him and, you know, just spend time with him. And he used to look at me like, what you doing in here? But he wouldn't say it, but he was like, what you doing in here? And I wouldn't tell him, like, you know, oh, I think something bad is going to happen. Why are you going to tell to my dad? But I just had this inkling, like, yo, just spend time with him. And like, I always encourage people to do that. Like, yo, like spend time with the people that you love, because you never know. You never know. And, with all the loss that I experienced in 2019, it was like, I really make it a point to tell people like, yo, like I love you, or like I miss you and I care about you, and like say the important things, because you never know, yo. You never know. Like I told my dad, and I don't know what made me do this, but I just told him like, yo, dad, like I want you to know like you did a great job. And I told him this when he wasn't sick. And he looked at me like, girl, like why are you being all mushy? Because he couldn't take that, like what? Mushiness, what? But I told him like, yo, you did a really good job. And like, I'm so grateful, you know, that I have you as a dad. And I don't know. I just try to live. I try to be the best version of myself, because I know that's what he would want. And he would like literally like be like, Desiree, why are you crying? What are you crying for? Like, he always told us he was going to go one day. And I would be like, don't say that. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. And he'd be like, nah, like, but Desiree, you need to know, like, everybody's gonna die, and I'm not scared of death. And he told me that years and years ago, like, Desiree, death does not scare me. Like, I understand, I'm gonna go. Like, I know I'm gonna go one day. You just need to know I'm gonna go one day. And I'm like, no, you're gonna live forever. But people don't live forever. And because people don't live forever, you can't take this for granted. It's not to be taken for granted, you know. So hug on the people that you love on them, y'all, because when you can't, and that's hard. You know, the guilt that you feel after someone passes, like my freaking what is this thing? My storage was full, y'all. So I'm gonna have to pair these together. But again, I'm not editing. I'm not reliving this. I'm not watching. I'm not clipping. I'm not doing that. I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, shoot. Damn. Okay, so here we go. I was talking about the guilt. I think that's what a lot of people don't talk about. It's like the guilt that you feel after someone passes, right? Like, for a long time, I felt guilty, like, for moving. And then I felt guilty because, like, I'm at this point, I'm 33, but then I was 31, and I was like, you know, I have so many people that I know my age who are well off and they're established. And it's like, you know, I'm still working on getting my career to that level. And like, if I had been more established, or, you know, if I had took a regular 9-to-5 job, like, I would have been able to help financially, you know, with my dad's funeral and everything. And not funeral, but like give him a proper funeral, or, you know. But then I had to like realize, like, that isn't even who my dad was. Like, he legit told us, like, look, when I die, don't be having me in a church having people cry over my body. Like, I don't want that. Like, just go down to Catholic Charities and tell them that, you know, I passed, and they'll give you $200. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, and then go get me cremated. Like, he gave very like detailed instructions. Do I feel like, you know, he knew he was going to pass? I don't know. I think he kind of had an idea that he wasn't doing well, but I think it shocked him a bit. Like, yo, this is it? But yeah, like, I just wish someone would have told me about, like, the guilt that you can make yourself feel, and like that exists. And you know, I just felt guilty, like, okay, maybe I should have stayed home longer, but what I had to come to realize is, like, yo, like, there was nothing left unsaid, there was nothing left undone. Like, yo, I went to war for my dad, like, went to war for him, telling doctors off when I needed to, sitting at his bedside for over 24 hours at a time. Like, yo, I went to war for this man. And like, he knew that. He knew, you know, me, my mom, my sister were there for him. Like, he just knew. So I find peace in that. I'm not upset about that. I'm just angry that he's not here. And you know, that's a hard thing to deal with. It's not easy. You know, just, you always wish you could do more. You had more time. You had more of this. You could say more. But I find peace in knowing that I said all that I could have, because there are some people who don't. There are some people who their final words to their parents were not so kind. And there are some people who just weren't on good terms with their parents. So, and I learned that from my group. Like, some people just have some crazy stories. And like, you know, I just thank God that things turned out the way that they did for me. And All right, look, this video just cut off again. My story just absolutely full. So I guess it's like a wrap it up type thing. But one thing I just want to let everybody know, like, when you're going through all of this, like when you're grieving, like, honor how you feel in the moment. You have to honor it. I made a bad habit of like pushing down how I felt and like not acknowledging how I felt in the moment. And like, honestly, all it does is come back to eat you and haunt you later. So like, really just honor how you feel. If you don't feel like doing something, don't do it. If you're having a rough day, have a rough day. Like, it's okay to have a rough day. Like, like, I understand we have work and we have other obligations, but there are some times where it's just like, yo, you just gotta break down. So if you have children and like you need to be there for your kids, like, try to find a way to get somebody to take care of the kids for a moment while you have your moment. Because the one thing that you don't want to do is suppress, and then it just explodes. And I had to learn that, like, okay, I'm at work and I'm on set, whatever the case may be, and like, okay, I can't break down in that moment because I'm needed to perform, but like, you got to get that stuff out, especially with me acting now. Like, you can't have that blockage. My first acting class, they had us do breathing exercises, and I was holding so much in. I literally started bawling, y'all, from a breathing exercise. Just from breathing, all of the stress, all of the tension that was on my body was literally coming out in tears because I could not do it in my real life. So that was a huge lesson for me. Like, I just, be kind to people, check in on people, yo. Like, I wish more people would check in on me. Like, I wish, and I don't want that fake love. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is like, yo, like, if you have someone who is grieving, like, you don't even have to sit there and talk to them about it. Like, sometimes we don't feel like talking about it, but like, yo, you good? Like, not just like, hey, how are you? No, but like, are you good? Like, I know you're going through a lot. I just wanted to check in. And that check in, even if it's not a full on conversation, will mean the world to that person. You have no idea, because there's so many people walking around with a heavy heart and no one asks them if they're okay. So ask people if they're okay, yo. That's all it is. This 1 year later thing is hard. Holidays were hard. This was a rough Christmas, a rough Thanksgiving. I was home. And just the family dynamic. Like, we're redefining what our family looks like in the absence of a man that's been there my whole life. You know what I mean? So, like, my mom lost her husband. My sister lost her dad. My other siblings lost their dad. But it's like, at the core for me, it's me, my mom, and my sister, especially with COVID, and my mom's side of the family is super big and everybody's been, there, but this year it was just the three of us, and I had to have a talk with my mom because, she didn't want to be by herself, and she went to be with her sisters, which is fine, but then it was just me and my sister. It was just the two of us. And it's like, the dynamic of the family has changed, and we have to redefine that and find out what that looks like for us. So it's just a whole bunch of learning, it's a bunch of learning, and getting stuff done after the person passes is difficult, like closing their accounts and, notifying the right people that they've passed. But redefining what life is without them is, there are no words for it. There are no words. I just pray that this continues to get better. It's hard for me. This has challenged my relationship with God. Like, I know God is there. Jesus is the homie. Like, we be kicking it all the time. But it made me question, like, what's up? Like, why do you do this? Like, why now? And it doesn't make sense to me. There are a few deaths that I've encountered in life that don't make sense to me. And my dad's passing was definitely one of them. And it's really made me, like, hesitant to pray. It's made me angry. frustrated, and it's made me question God. And I think, you know, it's really important to say those things. As a Christian, like, you know, my upbringing, they taught me, you know, you don't question God, but it's like, again, I have to honor the way that I feel. Like, I was like, God, what's up? You know, like in my prayers, like, yo, what's up? Straight up talking to God, like, I don't understand this. You don't make sense to me. What's up? And I've had to find my way and navigate through a lot of that. But, you know, be honest in this, because it's not easy. But be honest with yourself. Be honest with others. When they piss you off, tell them. I have a couple conversations I have to have with, you know, family members that I'm not excited about, but I have to have them anyway. And they're uncomfortable, but it is what it is. That's all I really got for now. You know, having my dad's stuff brings me peace. Like, I have some of a lot of his clothes. I have like some sweaters, some sweatshirts. That brings me peace. Having his picture, you know, I have 2 of them here in my apartment. It brings me peace. My goal is to, you know, actually get his ashes to LA. We're all splitting his ashes, and I haven't taken my portion yet. And part of me is terrified to take him on a plane, because I'm like, what if something happens, and what if I drop them, and blah, 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 blah. All these what ifs has kind of stopped me. But it's also hard to acknowledge that he's gone, because his ashes are another reminder of that. So I'm still struggling with that. I'm not perfect. This process isn't perfect, and it can get quite ugly. But y'all, just, if I tell you anything, like, either seek therapy, seek a group of people that, you know, a grief group, somewhere where you have an outlet, because I can't dump all this on my sister. I can't dump all this on my mom. And to be honest, not everybody understands my position. I can't dump all these onto my friends, because they're not my therapist. So it's like, you need support, and there's nothing wrong with seeking outside help for support. And I just want to, like, say how grateful I am for, like, my friends that have, like, checked in. Like, it really helped me get through. It really helped me get through. So yeah, I don't know why this is my reality, but it is. I don't know why I had to lose the people that I did, but I did. And my goal is to just continue to make them proud, and, you know, make this Rutledge name a household name, you know, where people can be like, oh, I know Desiree Rutledge, and then pass on the legacy. I hope that helped. I'll probably have to come back and make another video. I don't want to make another video. But I hope you guys can see that I'm doing better. I'm able to talk about it with less tears. Still some tears, but less. Still some pain, but less. All right. Bye.